on, because it's like with that situation in London in 2020, the reason I personally went down there is because as a child, that Stephen Lawrence case haunted me.
Of course.
Haunted me. I hear it all the time. I remember like I would genuinely get uncomfortable, and I was born 87. So I was only a little boy at the time it happened, but it done something to me. It kind of made me, it just done something to me, and the aftermath of how the case was handled when you look into it. So I went, when Tommy Robinson made that call to go London, for people to be in London and they were going to attack people, I said, yo, I need to be there, because even if my presence stops another Stephen Lawrence from happening. So that's why, and when we went down there, that's why we was down there. We went down there for that reason. Like,
show unity and force.
Show you, and everyone was there. There was bare people there, and this is what I'm saying. Every man's was on it. Man's was on it down there. It's the craziest thing I've ever been a part of. In terms of it, you had all these black people from Leeds, Manchester, Sheffield, Bristol, Cardiff, all these different black people all down there, all on the same. It's the first seeing that type of unity, and like and it was like almost like war kind of business, because Robinson was saying, yo, we're gonna bring on protect statues, thinking that even though they knew it wasn't us that were pulling the statues down, but he was like, yo, we're going down there, and really what he meant to say is, yo, we're going down there to fight them, like, innit? So when I was like, yo, there's children there, women there, I said, nah, I'm stepping out. And I think we bought like 2 cars down there. So, and when we got there, you had them football hooligans, some of them, they kind of, when they seen that the youth were out there like that, together.
They didn't want none.
Whatever, they didn't want no parts of that, man.
Of course.
They didn't want no parts of that, man. So the day went, it was nothing but retreating. What was going on? Because man was just pushing. It was crazy. It was crazy, Noble. It was the maddest thing I've ever seen. So what I'm trying to say is, when there's a spirit like that, people take note, people look and understand, okay, because you were able to do that to Stephen Lawrence, because, and I know this is a very sensitive topic, but you were able to pick mans off in them days, little schoolboys, one by one. And that's why when we were growing up, our parents would always say, walk in groups.
Yes.
Don't walk like, or, yo, if the last man jump in a taxi. Them things were still being said when I was growing up.
Be careful of the areas that you are going into.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, people are going to hear this, Mark, and they're going to be like, what do you mean be careful of the areas you go into? Yeah. There were areas where if you went there, you knew there was a high percentage, there's going to be an issue based upon you being a young black male.
And that's what I would do. I would always tell, man, when all the gang stuff was going on, any of them mans, if you go to any of them guys from my side of town, if they knew me, I would always be like, how are you like warring with each other when there's a way bigger situation on our hands? Racism. Man, I just couldn't understand it. You can't find no content where I'm afraid to speak out against these things. I was saying that from them days.
From day dot.
Like, yo, child, sorry. I would say, yo, how come you man are fighting each other and there's guys coming down on, I remember when EDL used to come down.
Yeah.
Bro, they would come down to the city center. Deep.
Crazy deep.
And there wasn't too much man out there, really. And people would say, oh, well, it wasn't really out of war. Well, it was, because couple mans caught beatings who were stray. I was never stray. And this is what I'm saying. This is why it upsets me now, because that same guy now, I know I'm changing the conversation, but that same Tommy Robinson now is doing like a black podcast tour.
Yeah.
He's reaching out to all the different podcasts to go on and do interviews and that. And I don't understand how we're giving him a platform when he was the person who created all of that. back in them days, but it's like we forgot. And we're just allowing him to come back through now, giving him a platform to speak, and we don't care what he's gonna say. He
But
cares
is he?
about the
It
vision.
was he not? I hear exactly what you're saying. And I'm going to pay righteous advocate on this one because I've actually listened to one of those podcasting that he's been on, and I was shocked to see it. Not the Sarah one from way back, a more recent one. And he's always pretty much every time I've kind of heard him speak and whatever, I've always seen a similar kind of theme. It's definitely changed. I mean, he was definitely on this anti-Islam thing. I never necessarily heard him refer to Afro-Caribbean or Black British in any kind of way. Like he was always saying he had brethrens, and one of them was one of the head people there from the EDL before he stopped was black and all this, and was an Asian guy and this and that. So I'm kind of in limbo of sorts in respect to a direct attack on original folk in the regard to Robinson.
And it can easily slip through your fingers when you don't, when you know the full picture. Because when you really check out Robinson, his original narrative is against Islam. So I hear what you're saying 100%. But he would always throw in these little subliminal messages that were aimed towards us. Now, what I'm trying to say is I'm isolating it. Pre-2020, I would say what you're saying right now. Like, yo, he's not, this ain't about us. This is about, he's attacking, which it ain't right to attack anyone, but
of course not.
wasn't an attack on us as black people. But in 2020, when the George Floyd thing happened, he was speaking out a lot against Black Lives Matter, which cool. Everyone's got their opinion, whatever, no problem. But there were peaceful protests taking place around London where people were coming out to protest the injustices that were taking place at the time and previously, and the whole world were doing it at this time. And Tommy Robinson put out a video saying, yo, we had enough of this. We're gonna go London to protect our statues from these people, which happen to be university students. But he was talking about the protests, the BLM protests, where there were going to be black women and children. He made this call, and all these football hooligan groups, Newcastle,
Sunderland,
or all these different, and man know how these man play. Like, I've watched all them football movies. These men are on it. Like, most black youths can't handle no straightener against these man. I'm telling you the truth. I'm on about mans who don't train or who ain't coming from a fighting background. Because when you're dealing with man that go on a Saturday and have like a group of 50 man and another group of 50 man and just run at each other and fight till the last man drops, that man ain't doing that. So Robinson was calling down these kind of man to come to London to kind of, he says defend statues, but nah, what he really meant is to mash up the protests. So, I mean, I didn't go to no protests. I went to the one in Brum, and then I weren't going to no protests. I'm like, yo, I'm good. But when I seen that video, I was like, nah, I need to go London. Have to go down there because these football hooligans are they're going to be bringing it. So what we did, got 2 cars, man, serious man. Every man there I've known since I was 15 who was in the cars with me. Every man's got their missus. Every man that was with us has their missus and their children. Every man there's got their own home, their own vehicle, and is doing decent.
Yes.
But these are brothers that I've grown up with who were all like, nah. Once we spoke, everyone was like, nah, we're going. I spoke to some Manchester man who felt the same. They done the same thing. Some of my brethren's from Cardiff. I know some man's from Bristol. Some duns from Handsworth, which is in Brom, as you know, who were like, nah, we're going. So this whole group of people went down there. Now, when we got down there, it was exactly what Tommy Robinson wanted it to be. It was just a bag of football hooligans from all over the country. The police was in between us, and then it was just a bag of black men on the other side. I'm talking like, and not just black men, you had like white people who, like you got white people who are down for the struggle or whatnot.
Yeah.
You had like other like groups who were there for whatever purpose, and everyone was just moving on one accord. So it was just crazy, and all day it would be like a hooligan would brush through, and then boom, man would just rock it up. Then a next man, then it would be pushing all over London, and the police, yeah. And this is one thing I'll say: the police done a terrific job that day, because it could have been some serious, it could have been some serious problems that day. But the reason I'm telling this story is because I'm saying it was Robinson who done that. It was Robinson who put that together. So now that same man he's got a book coming out, and that same man in the white world, he's been shut out.
Yeah,
he can't go on Good Morning Britons, Pierce, all them man there, he's done. The Asian world, he's washed up. They're not sitting down with him on none of their podcasts, none of their platforms. But us, the door's always open. And this is why I'm calling this out, because there's no infrastructure. This is the problem. Like, and Noble, we have to keep it real. We've been doing this a long time, Noble. Man, have to give us our dues. And I'm saying that now it's like some brothers who are just jumping into this thing. There's no sort of gatekeepers, nothing. Anyone can just come. Anybody can just come in and go through our infrastructure. There's only certain man in London who's like, nah, I know he's been begging to go on certain other man's platforms, and some of them have even publicly come out and said, nah, we ain't doing it. And this is what I'm saying now. Robinson, he's turning to us now because he's got nowhere else to go. He's genuinely got nowhere else to go. To the point he had to even leave England at one point.
Yes.
Goes, he has to have security. And this is the problem. We're just bringing him through. And remember, like I said, pre-2020, but once you look at the issues in 2020, and I've got all that stuff on footage.
Yeah.
In London, all that stuff, and that could have ended bad. If that wasn't organized that day, we could have had another Stephen Lawrence. And I said it at the time, you can go back to them old videos. If it wasn't organized, we could have had another Stephen Lawrence, because there was a man who was there who were just angry and didn't know why they were there. I'm talking from the hooligans, the football band side. I remember this one brother, he literally, I was filming this, and I've never even gone this deep into it like this. I was filming this young lad, and he was chatting, saying, yeah, man, I got kicked out of uni. And, like there was people who were just coming up because of what their issues were.
Yeah.
Well, I got kicked out of uni. And then this EDL man just came over and started saying, blah, 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 blah. Woe is me, like jumped in like that.
What?
No, but listen, I had to practically beg these mans not to bury this brother. Literally, I'm like, nah, leave it. And this is what I'm trying to say. And that was the Tommy Robinson effect.
He's catalyzing. He look. Let's peel another layer behind it. We have paid agents. Many people just think that, Mr. Tate can just be banned off all social media platforms, but yet he gets interviewed by all of the major podcast platforms, this and that. His content's absolutely everywhere still, but yet he's banned off the thing. Like, we gotta think to ourselves, we gotta be a bit more smarter in this here, man. Well, when we get these polarizing figures that come up and have huge followings and go on Piers Morgan and this and that, we gotta question, what's the agenda? Why is this person? And then maybe, and look, here's the analogy. You can't give someone straight poison, can you? Because it's gonna, they're gonna know it's poison. It's gonna taste funny. So if you put poison, a little bit of poison in some Coca-Cola, they will drink that. You might have a little bit of an aftertaste, but they'll drink that there. So there's always going to be some truth in what these people bring forth. You know what I mean? Of course, because you can pick sense from nonsense, but it's the underlying fashion and what the agenda is of what these people are doing. Like, what is the purpose? BLM, what was the purpose? What came forth as a result of globally, or as I would say, on this plane of existence, most major cities across this plane of existence, people were protesting about police brutality. What has been physically manifested as a result of that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Not one thing. And that's because it was something that you got to remember the world was in lockdown at the time as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you have to factor in a few different elements to how things went down around that time.
Yeah.
The world was in lockdown, something that we've never seen before. No matter how people want to, separate themselves, we're all here on earth together, all of us. We have got people that govern the earth, but we've never seen a situation that has. Remember, at the time, we all don't know what's going on. We don't know. Mm-hmm. Even mans who were saying they had an idea of what was going on, we all didn't know where this was gonna end up.
Yes.
We're all just sitting in the house. The people that we're hearing about all these death counts. Mm-hmm. We're hearing about, we don't know when life's gonna go back to normal. All this stuff. Then right in the midst of this, remember we was in lockdown.
Yeah.
UK from the 22nd of March. Mm-hmm. Never forget it. That was the day Boris locked us down.
Yep.
Now, March. Let's scratch off March. April, May, June. People are in their house at this point. Literally, they just don't have no clue at when this is gonna end. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden, this video appears from nowhere.
Exactly. And Mark, let me add to that. It appears from nowhere on WhatsApp and on your social medias, and then it's all over the news.
Yeah, it was, again, because you have to understand, we're in lockdown, so everyone's inside. So people are getting bored of the COVID talk.
Yep.
This video comes out of nowhere. The video shows a man being murdered on camera.
Yeah. Modern day lynching, as I call it. Modern day.
A man's calling for his mom, and we just see this man smiling, killing this man. So now people are like, hold on a second. Nah, like, where? Everyone's kicking off. And then we're seeing now for the first time that, hold on a second. Everyone's talking about this. There's no politically correct convo. We've got literally, I follow this YouTuber called Marcus Brownlee, and he does like all these tech reviews about iPhone.
Oh yes, yeah.
Big.
He's got a brother as well, hasn't he?
He's got what? Sorry.
Isn't he got a brother?
No. It's him one still. Him one.
Okay.
So big time tech. I'm talking. His channel's this big that he'll put out a video today. You check it back by this evening, it's on 2 million views.
Easy.
Them levels.
Yeah.
So man like him who I've followed for the last 10 years.
Easily, I know. And you see how he's grown and developed?
There you go. I've easily been following him 10 years from the days of the iPhone 3GS. My man never speaks about, and he's a tech reviewer, he don't have to, but he never makes no mention of anything outside of tech, rightly so.
Yeah.
He made video about things he's experienced being a black man and all these different companies, and everyone was getting involved. So what it did, it spread to other places. It spread to, we're looking on TV, we're seeing, there's a march going on there. So then people in other areas started saying, we're going to do a march. Some people were marching for the injustice of that black people have faced everywhere.
Yeah.
Some people were marching for that. Some people were marching for this. Some people were marching for that. It became a commercially, for the first time in ever
In history, in
in
essence,
history, it became commercially
acceptable to support the downtrodden original of this plane of existence. To the point, Mark, let me add on to that, to the point where, for some crazy reason, let me just hypothesize that they saw a future in where this kind of scenario is going to take place. So they recorded pre-lockdown loads and loads of advertisements with nothing but black people in there. And a black father and maybe a white wife and a little family there and all of this stuff, and we start seeing all that stuff being pumped out. Continue, sibling.
And then sports took note. So what you have to remember is it became commercial. It became commercial like, and then all this money was being raised. Black things had started to literally, the podcast itself experienced the growth off the back of that, because people were starting to listen to, like you have these people like for years who have been speaking about injustices and speaking about things going on in schools and ABOC, and it's just like, yo, you're just this guy, he just bitter, or I don't care, I don't care, like, you just get pushed to the side. But for the first time ever, it was like they were pulling them people that were at the side to the forefront. Like turning on Good Morning Britain, you're seeing brothers with the sheikies and sisters with all kind of head wraps and are going off, and I'm like, yo, this is mad. That's why that happened. Everyone was just jumping on that. But Robinson, now there was some man who couldn't. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. They didn't like that the conversation was going down that path, and they were starting to say things. What about black on black crime? Well, what about this and what about that? And I'm saying, them kind of people, it doesn't. These people are some of the. You can't debate them, because it's like you tell a man the facts and he still don't care. I'm saying, stop. Like, people don't understand, no, but it bothers me so bad, because black on black crime, mans are getting locked up straight away.
Of course.
People ain't protesting because of the crime. They're protesting because of the aftermath of the crime. That a man can, on camera, do this and get away with it. And that's why people, because remember, just a few weeks before that, you had the brothers, the father and son. That
in the truck.
In the truck, yeah. So it's becoming, how much times do you see things like this happen and you ignore it? Like, how much, and that's why it went off that way. But in the UK, Tommy Robinson was one of the people who didn't like what he was seeing. He didn't like it. He never liked it, and he made a lot of videos. He made an awful lot of videos going in. See what I mean? And then he done that thing in London. So that's what I'm saying. After all of that, I'm just shocked that we were allowing him into the ecosystem.
Well, you highlighted the point, Mark, that we've got the barrier to entry. We've been doing this for, as they used to say, a minute. You know what I mean? Double figures, right? So the barrier to entry when we was doing a thing was it was quite high. There was a high bar in essence. You couldn't just jump on the thing. I mean, you could, but you wouldn't produce like real good content and stuff. Visual content or audio content with crystal clear quality. The barrier to entry is low. The bar is so low, as we saw in the lockdown, a huge spike in podcasters, as it's called now, podcasting,
Massive now.
Massive, like, and I would say 60% of them, they did 3 or 4 shows, and then you never heard from them ever again.
80% no more.
80, okay.
80%.
Yeah, and they got no qualifications. They've got no, and listen, I don't per se have written qualifications in regards to broadcasting, but based upon my experience, I have a lot of.
Then you're a master.
This is the thing.
So I'll say that myself, no, but on podcast.
Your
Like,
thanks and honesty.
you know what you're doing, you know how to present, you know how to speak, you know how to record. Man, have to give the credit where it's due.
Hard work and dedication, man. Key and consistency. One of the keys. One of the multiple keys to success. But then, as I say, you've got people with no life experiences, Mark. You've got people who, and it's not about age, it's about experiences within that life. It's having the thirst to research. Some people don't even know self, but yet they're doing podcasts about relationships and they don't even have no gal or no man.
Edit.
Huh?
Edit.
What are we talking about? So that we've got unqualified people, unfortunately, with some of them with big numbers, and it's like I'm confused. I am confused. Like, I don't see the value in what this person is bringing forth. They're very unprofessional, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, based upon that, Tommy Robinson, he's a polarizing figure kind of sort. I'll do a bit of knowledge on him before he gets in, so I've got some questions. But outside of that, I'm gonna get loads of views from this.
That's noble. What you just said there, that's all it is. It's about views, because what I'm saying is, a man now, podcasts are at the stage now where everybody's looking and saying, I want to get on the train before the gravy starts pouring in. And a lot of people are now just looking and saying, yo, I need to jump on that. And, I need to get on it because I can see that industry is growing.
Yes.
And if I don't get a seat on that in that industry now, when, like how in the States now, people are now making money from it, serious money.
Serious money.
Remember, I'm telling you right now, that time's coming to the UK. It ain't here yet, but it's coming. It's coming, where they're gonna start. Podcasts here will start earning. I'm telling you that it will happen.
It has to.
So based on that, a lot of people are trying to jump on it. And when they jump on, they don't really even understand the art of simple conversation.
Thank you.
Like just even general conversation, just general natural talking. They can't even do that. So what they do is they jump on these platforms and they may have experienced success in other areas, so popularity in other areas. So let's say you've got a following of maybe 30K from being a YouTuber or a gamer or something, and now you're like, yo, I'm gonna start a podcast. You can automatically bring maybe 10-20% of that audience with you to your podcast, so you're generating numbers. But you don't even have a lane carved out. So when you're on the show, you don't know the art of dialogue, meaning you're talking over people, you're butting in. Naturally, that happens sometimes, but when you listen on the playback, it's really hard to listen to. So, and then people ain't even researching their equipment, how to present the best quality to your audience.
Yes.
How to research in the topics. That's why if a Robinson was to sit down with me or you, we know that the conversation ain't gonna go the way he wants it to go. But he knows that, if I go over there, I can control the conversation. But if I go to them, they're gonna guide it, and they're gonna know how to guide the conversation where I want it to go.
Yes.
And that's the problem with podcasting. It's not, like a man who's a rapper or a music engineer or something like that.
Yeah.
But let me not say rapper, but like an engineer, he has to know certain things about that before he now engineers an artist. And that's how it has to be in podcasting. I think there needs to be a level of people are like, when I first started this thing, Noble, yeah, I would literally record stuff that weren't even going out publicly.
Yeah.
Just to learn how to get my breathing right. And if I had a topic, I remember, like, I used to struggle to get to the point. I had to learn all them kind of things. But now it's just, now a girl can just look good. And like, there's literally been girls who have messaged like, yo, you need a bad B on the show. I'm like,
some eye candy, any
yeah,
siblings, some eye candy.
what are you saying, and what are you, how do you present? What is your point of conversation? When I've listened to a lot of these girls' shows, horrible.
Disgusting. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just because they look good, they think that's a way in. But it probably would be for a lot of men.
Well, Mark, let's just look at it. In this microwave society, you've got people who it's just visual. They don't care what's being said. They've got a tick lighty on there, as to say down south. Yo, the lace fronts on fleek, the contouring's on point. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. I'm just, I don't even hear. Oh, all I'm hearing is Charlie Brown's teach out. Ow, 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 ow. I'm looking at the thing. That's a buff thing. Growth and development, learning, like challenging the ideas that you've got. Like, rah, I never thought about it like that. I never thought that. I'm not in a long-term relationship because all I do is go to nightclubs looking for a gal. I don't look for a gal in the supermarket. I'm not just out and, just want to strike up a bit of conversation with someone. I've got to be out in a club intoxicated and and I'm looking for the gal in a dimly lit kind of club and stuff. I meet them and everything's blessed. I take them back, wake up the next day, and I'm seeing a totally different person. Huh? What, like, this is where we at now? where people are doing the same thing, expecting a different result, which in definition is insanity. We've got an insane society, Mark, which has been manipulated by the powers, unfortunately, that should have never been. The governmental system, the entertainment system. Yo, everything is stacked, unfortunately, against us. So when you step outside the thing and you really see it, you're like, oh, that's the game they're playing. Oh, so I've just got, this is the way, this is how I'm supposed to navigate the thing. I don't just put my head down and just listen to everything that people say and just take it for gospel. I study to show myself approved. I try and make things appropriate and applicable to my life to make sure my life's cool. Not saying, yo, I've got to go to iPhone, man. The latest, the iPhone 29's out. I got to get that. I'm going to queue up. I'm queuing up, boss. A week. I want to be the first one. I'm going to put it on the Instagram. Yo, you see me? I'm going to do a live stream when I'm sitting in there. You know what I mean? This is what they've created, Mark.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. It has gone to that level. It has. And like I said, because I've kind of seen you've seen it yourself as well. We've seen the changes in the scene. And now we're seeing now that it's just at a level where anything goes. And it is sad to see. I'm not going to lie. It is sad to see. There's not, if I'm taking advice, relationship advice, it's not going to be from somebody who's not in a successful relationship. It's going to be from someone, somebody who's been married 10 plus years, 15 plus years. Yeah. I need to be able to ask that person, how did you guys overcome this? Or how did you guys deal with this adversity? Or how did you deal with that? I don't want to just hear somebody, when you speak to a married couple, yeah, they both will tell you, this ain't easy.
Of course.
This ain't easy, but we both want to get this right. So we work together and we work through things together. That's what married couples will tell you. Whereas you go on these podcasts and it's some girl who was with a dude for barely a year. It turned out to be some dude that she ignored all the red flags for. It ended up bad, which you don't want things to end that way, but that's the way it ended up. Now she's going on a tour.
Yeah.
Saying that all men
are
like this and women need to safeguard themselves. And them are the people that it's the blind leading the blind. Them are the people that are pushed to the forefront now. And that's why you've got, like, I've seen, like, there was some podcasts in London. They get a heavy push on social. And, like, it's like this show where they're, like, sitting down. They've got alcohol and everything. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's that. And then I remember some people send clips around of these things. So I remember looking at a clip of this podcast and like, yo, this is the new thing. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm looking at it and I'm seeing the alcohol. I'm listening to what the girls are saying. I'm seeing the behavior of the men on the podcast, and I'm like, this is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
In today's world, if there's anybody, and because I know that, I know one of the oldest rules in the book: don't mix business with pleasure.
Ooh, say that again, sibling.
Don't mix business with pleasure. And I know when I was looking at those individuals, I know there'll be a lot of mixing business with pleasure there. So in my head, I'm like, I know how man and woman business goes.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody gets with somebody and 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a long-term situation, there's going to be people who feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any kind of malice, then things can be brought up of what have happened in the past or A, B, or C. And that's what you're seeing going on now for that podcast, where girls are coming out and saying, yo, that man's done this, that, and the third, and rare. And I know that I just couldn't sit down and be involved in something where I know how it's going to end up.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, even as a cameraman in that, I would have been like, yo, you man need to be careful, or you need to do this, that, or rare. You see what I mean?
Yes.
And look at the situation now.
Safeguarding the whole situation, the plan, the idea. It's like people just fall into it. Yo, you want to do a podcast? Yeah. When you're saying Wednesday, yeah, just come and meet me at SE 15. You know what I mean? Above flipping Yin Yang's chip shop, and we're gonna bang out like 2 episodes in one day. What's the topic? I'll let you know when you get down here still. And then the show's done.
This is what I'm saying. There's no kind of, it's just, yo, throw on the mics, man. Let's just, yo, man. And then that's